The one hit, thinking, okay, this guy's about to roll. Giants going to win their second straight, win the series this Tuesday night against the Blue Jays. Then we'll go for the sweep today. Did not happen because Logan Webb just lost it. What happened, Chasky? Logan Webb just the fifth inning and the sixth inning couldn't get out of it. Got to get pulled for John Jelly.
It felt like Wisely misplayed a ball and then just everything snowballed on him. I don't know. I don't know. It's just a funky, quirky, odd game. It felt like when the Giants were getting that 2-out rally, got the bases loaded, and you're just thinking, oh, one base hit here can really like open this game up, get Bassett out of the game. And it felt like they didn't capitalize on that. And I'm thinking, even though it was a 2-out rally and it's going to come back to bite him, and sometimes that ends up happening. I will say this, though. It was nice to see Chapman get a late game kind of
home run.
Swing. It just, him to get grooved in. I actually expect him to do something big today.
Well, I think it's the biggest start of the season for Jordan Hicks. Let's bring in Dave Flemming, one of the many great voices of the San Francisco Giants. He does it all here, and he joins us on the River Islands guest line. All guests on 95.7 The Game. Appear on the River Islands guest line. Is it a time for you to discover the islands, River Islands in Lathrop? Flem, good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Roast here on 95.7 The Game. Been a hell of a week for the Giants. Monday night, obviously, the Willie Mays celebration. Looked like it was a lot of fun. A lot of big names out there. Bill Clinton, Barry Bonds, Felipe Alou came out, Willie Brown or whatnot, and then the Giants come back Tuesday night against the Blue Jays in wild fashion. And then last night, as Logan Webb is cruising through 4, all hell broke loose for Logan. He can't get out the fifth inning, and the Giants lose a tough one to where I think today, Flem, and maybe you could agree with me on this one, I think it's the biggest start of the season for Jordan Hicks going into the break. He has to pitch well today, Flem.
Yeah, good morning. I would have lost my house yesterday if you told me Logan Webb was going to be charged with 7 earned runs the way he was going. I mean, that was one of the weirdest games of the whole year. And I would like to ask Logan just honestly whether he got distracted by, he gives up that 3-run homer. He's totally just sort of cruising along and throws what I think he thought was a good pitch. And one thing about it, he threw a changeup, and if you really dig deep into the data, his changeup the last few times out, and really all year, because last year his changeup was just awesome. And this year he's been giving up a lot more hard contact on it, and I do wonder if, if something in his brain just got ticked off, again, and he's struggling to figure out what's going on with the changeup, and it just kind of distracted him a little bit. And that's not an excuse, just because it was just so weird how well he was pitching for everything to fall apart like it did. And obviously all those runs didn't score while he was in the game. So, yeah, I think it is. It's a big game for the Giants. It's a big start for Jordan Hicks. You got to be able to match Kevin Gausman, who I think is going to come out and pitch very well. He will be highly, highly motivated today. This is a revenge game for Kevin Gausman, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's going to be as locked in as he can possibly be. And we know when he's locked in how good he is. So it's a tough challenge, and it's a series the Giants are figuring, hey, we need to win this series at home, which, we're just looking for the Giants to get a true, honest-to-goodness hot streak going. They have played well. They've played their best ball of the year. They've navigated a very tough schedule with a lot of injuries. The schedule does get, quote, easier when the second half begins. But you'd like to pile up some wins at home. Today's a big game.
Yeah, I just want to rat-tat-tat some of these starting pitchers. Bonte referenced Jordan Hicks, and big start today. We will see. Blake Snell pitched the night before. I thought it was a really encouraging start. I'm glad they kind of got him out of there because I wanted to see him, make 2 good starts before the end of this first half to kind of end it on a high note, and I thought he looked a lot better, a heck of a lot better, pounding the zone, up in the zone, down in the zone. He was a little more judicious with his pitches. And then I've really been impressed with Hayden Birdsong. I know he got yanked in the 5th inning and he wanted to stay out there. That second time through the lineup wasn't as good against Cleveland. But this rotation is starting to come around here. We haven't brought up Harrison. I think he's been a little up and down here as of late. So where are you at just on the rotation as a whole and some of those names I referenced?
Yeah, it's a good little run through. I would say big picture wise, the Giants still believe they should the starting rotation should be producing at a better clip. like big picture wise, that's supposed to be the foundation of this team. Now we know all the injuries have been a huge reason why it hasn't been, but I mean, gosh, the Giants starters ERA is like, what is it? Like 25th in the game or 20, that's a tough formula to be a team that you want to be with that. But you go individually, like, look, I'm giving Kyle Harrison a pass. He never made a rehab start. You jump right back into the big leagues after missing a month. His first inning was a nightmare. And after that, he was better. Like I think he sort of got the feeling going. So next start's going to be really important for him. What's that, tomorrow night for Kyle? I think that's a big one for him, just to kind of right from the jump, be more consistent, the pitcher that we've seen most of this year. Birdsong, there's two things about Birdsong. Number one, everybody should be very bullish on his future. Like, Hayden Birdsong has a chance to be really good. I am excited about him. But I think you said, and it is true, he still has a lot to learn that second time through, whether it's exposure to his stuff or, in my opinion, maybe a little bit more of, hey, this is a 22-year-old kid where he and his catcher are trying to figure out the sequencing and kind of how to use his arsenal the best and set up hitters. I think he's a smart pitcher. I think he's still learning that stuff. He's got to eliminate, just like Kyle, both those guys are similar, like eliminate the big misses. Way, way, way too many just total waste pitches that aren't doing you any good. Got to tighten that up. Like, if you want to be as good as those two guys can be, stop throwing 15 pitches a game that are easy takes and balls and are taxing you and not helping you in individual at-bats. That can be corrected, and we should be excited about both those guys. And last thing, Blake Snell, very encouraging. They need him. They need him bad, because as much as we want to say Cobb and Robbie Ray, we still don't know. Yep. You don't know that those guys are going to come back and be who we think they're going to be this year. You hope, but you don't know. Snell needs to be that guy.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you with Snell, and I'm actually buying stock in Snell because his lifetime numbers in the second half of the season are really good. July, August, and September is when we see the best of Blake Snell, so I'm buying stock into him here. But look, it looks like, Flem, as we're talking to Dave Flemming here on the River Islands guest line, Farhan, this organization, has committed to the full youth movement. I mean, we see Wisely, we see Fitzgerald, obviously Ramos going to the All-Star game, which is a great accomplishment. Matos is getting some playing time here. We see Slater move on. We see Ahmed get DFA'd. They're committed to the youth movement. But should that change the expectations for this team? And when I say expectations, I mean playoffs. Should that change? Should we alter our expectations knowing that a lot of youngsters are playing right now for the Giants?
I don't think we should. I don't think so. I don't think they're altering their expectations. I do think that it's going to be a massive challenge for the young guys to get to the finish line this year. All of these players. Now, look, Tyler Fitzgerald's played a ton of games in the minor leagues. He knows what a long season is like. But a lot of these younger guys, pitchers and position players, are sort of testing the limits of their baseball stamina, and that's going to really show up in August and September, and we'll see how they do. Well, the three of us have seen lots of examples over the years, and not just in this sport. You see it in the NBA. Young guys playing well, and the grind of the season gets to them because it's different. Mm-hmm. And so we'll see, but I don't think that should change the expectations. I don't. When you have a team that's headlined by Webb and Snell and Doval and Chapman and Conforto and Soler and Bailey, and Ramos playing the way he is, you should be a playoff team in your mind. You should have the expectation we're good enough to get there and do damage when we get there. So I don't think it changes the expectations.
All right, a couple quick ones here. What are they going to do at shortstop? Brett Wisely's kind of cooled off a little, and I know he's playing a lot of second because Estrada just got activated. What do you think the solution is moving forward at shortstop?
I believe that is the hardest question to answer in the Giants organization right now. I think that is that's the most important question for now and for the next, say, 2 years to answer. They don't have, I shouldn't say that. Brett Wisely's made amazing progress this year. I don't want to discount the fact that he can get there someday, but I believe he could be a high-level second baseman in the big leagues. I think it is a stretch. Shortstop is different. Mm-hmm. It is the most demanding position out there on the diamond. A catcher probably is, but catcher a different skill set in terms of just athleticism, arm, reaction, eliminating mistakes. You have to have a shortstop who is buttoned up. And Wisely is inexperienced there. They need a shortstop, a true, and Nick Ahmed is a defensive major league shortstop. Nick just wasn't hitting enough to balance things out. I don't know if Brett Wisely is that guy. I think we're going to find out. He's going to play there a lot, but you even saw last night, like, it's a work in progress. I think it's at least possible that the Giants shortstop is not on the Giants right now. They need a guy.
Is that the number one need at the deadline, or is that more of a big picture type of a deal?
I think the answer is probably both. I think if you could swing a deal at the deadline that was not a short-term rental. Now, if somebody was dumping a shortstop who is a really solid, I just don't see who that player is right now. I'm looking around and going, I don't see a solid big league shortstop who's, a rental at a lower cost. You're not going to give up your prospect inventory for a rental in a season like this where you're still trying to scratch and claw to fight. That's just dumb. That would not be the right way to go. But you could give up your prospect inventory for a shortstop who's going to be with you for not just this year, but for the next while. And if that player were to pop up and be available, I could see the Giants making a move like that. So I think the answer can be both, but my gut tells me it's more of an off-season project than an in-season project.
Heck, maybe he's playing on the other side today. Bo Bichette, maybe that's your shortstop. No, I'm kidding, Flem. But I'm with you there. Real quick, back to the starting rotation, because it is interesting. Let's say, hypothetically, Snell's doing his thing. Robbie Ray and Cobb gets back, which we don't know what they're going to look like. We have no idea. So we have to kind of set the bar low with these guys. But if they do come back and pitch well, there's going to be a logjam here with the starting rotation. So we already know about Hicks. He's already pitched a career high in innings. Kyle Harrison has never pitched this deep into a season or has been extended. Could you see both those guys maybe going to the pen? And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for that if the Giants are in the hunt here. What happens with this rotation? How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, if everything works out well, then you have a good problem on your hands. Hicks is way more natural of a slide over to the bullpen because he's done it before. And I think Jordan, even though he wants to keep pitching as a starter, and for the 4 years of his deal, he definitely wants to be a starter. But the first year of this conversion project, Jordan, I've talked to him, he is realistic about where he stands in terms of those innings. So I think Hicks, if it gets to the point where he just starts to feel fatigued, I think he will be okay with sliding into the bull. I mean, everybody wants to do what's best for the team. So I'm not saying somebody's going to protest, but I think he understands that move may have to come at some point.
Be great for the pen, Phil. That'd be great for the pen. He's a hell of an arm.
Oh my gosh. Like, they have, plus you just take some burden away from, like, you have to, it's impossible not to start to ask the question after the last two nights. We've seen Walker give it up and we've seen Jelly give it up 2 times in a row. And Jelly like 4 times out of the last 5, something like that. Like, you have to start to wonder whether some workload is taking a toll on a few of these guys. So just spreading the burden around could be huge. Hicks could be a great weapon there.
About Harrison, you think Harrison could make that adjustment? He's a good kid, and I don't know if he'll lose confidence. Do you just keep him in that rotation and just ride it out?
I think so. I just, for me personally, I don't see that being easy for him. Now, maybe I could be wrong. You could try it. Like, there would be no harm. Like, if you have a glut and you're trying to cap his innings and see what it looks like one inning at a time, you could try that, and maybe he looks great. My guess is that he, a guy who doesn't throw as many strikes as you need to, it's going to be a harder fit for him, who's never done that before, come out of the bullpen. You probably wouldn't be, I think the other thing about Kyle is, if you put him down there, would you be asking him to come in back-to-back games as a 22-year-old who you think is a big part of your future as a starter? Probably not. And that's where it becomes hard. It's like, how do you carry a guy or two or three down there, where you have rules about how you use them? That becomes tough.
All right, let's we got to talk about the positive here. Elliot Ramos named All-Star. I mean, he's a center fielder. He's a young prospect, essentially, that we all kind of like gave up on, myself included. And he's made the most of his opportunities. He got his foot in the door, and he's been outstanding. Defensively, I just didn't know he was this good in center field. He takes good routes, sure-handed, hits the cutoff. Offensively, I mean, he's got power. He's hitting for average. He's clutch. He's demonstrating some speed, when needed. He's just been an all-around excellent player for this team moving forward. I mean, what do they do long-term in the outfield here with him? I know they got Jung-Hoo Lee, and I want to see him finish this year out, but it feels like he is one of the first blocks of what we've been hearing about for 5 years, and I'm just really excited for him, and I'm really happy for where he's at.
Yeah, you should be. I think Lee goes back into center field, but I think Ramos is a great fit for right field. We saw him play there earlier this year, and what was it like? He threw two guys out in the same game with his arm. He's got a good arm. He definitely has the arm for right field. I think he could be a plus right fielder, and in this park, that's very important. So I think that's probably the way it lines up next year. Yeah, you gotta. I mean, it's 200 at bats or whatever. That's not enough to say he's an established big leaguer, but everything about him right now screams a guy who's got the physical talent and has made the turn mentally and in terms of his approach to make this stick. Like the swing he had the other night to hit that home run, that's a 95 mile an hour fastball from a guy blowing the Giants away, down and in. And he hits it to right center field 420 feet. Like, there are not many. Like, we're talking about these are the best baseball players in the world, and it's a very small group of the best who can do what he did with that ball. That is some special ability. He's got a lot of swing and miss. The three of us have talked about it all year. That is always going to be an issue for him. If he balances that out by not chasing and taking some walks and still doing damage, you live with the swing and miss. It's okay. If he gets back into chase mode, that's where it becomes a problem. But gosh, he's made so much progress there. Everybody should be super excited. Plus, the last point about Ramos, he's got almost like the Pablo energy to him. Like, he's got so much positivity down there. He is such a good teammate. He is energetic every day. Like, in a baseball season, that is so important to have a couple guys like that around who just show up every day. They want to be in the lineup. They're bouncing around. They pull everybody along with them. Chapman's like that. Matt's a little less boisterous, but that's a guy who's posting every day. Yep. And is like a great example for everybody else. Like, we were in Cleveland, I think, over the weekend. And it was Sunday morning, so we're getting ready for the day game after a afternoon game, and it's 85 degrees on the field. And the one guy who's out there in his workout clothes taking ground balls is Matt Chapman. Like, the last guy in the world who needs to do it. The guy is the best at what he does, and there he is just grinding it out in the hot sun before the game. Like, the work ethic example of Matt Chapman is awesome.
Yeah, he's been a good Giant this season. Ramos going to the All-Star game, first time since 1971 the Giants have had a homegrown pitcher and outfielder in the same All-Star game. 71, that was Bobby Bonds, Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Juan Marichal. Flem, thanks so much for the time today. Have a good call. Got to get this game today. Rubber match, big start for Jordan Hicks, man. We'll be watching.
Hold the line against Gausman and make it a game late. The Giants are so good late. Like, don't let what happened last night happen today, and I think they're in good shape.
No doubt. We'll talk to you next week, Flem.
See you guys. Thanks.
All right, Dave Flemming here on the River Islands guest line here about the Giants. Hicks, natural transition to the bullpen. Kyle Harrison sounds like he's may stick. Or I wonder what they do, because it may come down to Birdsong or Harrison. And right now, Birdsong looks better. Birdsong does look better, or maybe he just – I don't know what you do here, but somebody's got to start giving this team 6 innings. The bullpen is getting worn out here. Ryan Walker's getting worn out. Sean Gillies worn out. God, the Rogers brother, worn out, dude. Miller, worn out. We got to get some guys in this starting rotation to go deep into some ball games.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'm just not sure what the top end of this version of the Giants is. It doesn't feel like this is their window. I'm not punting on the season per se, but if I'm looking at the big picture, I think the biggest thing that I took away from what Flem said, organizationally, shortstop is a giant hole. I mean, that's like undeniable. And you referenced Bo Bichette, who's playing on the opposite side of Toronto. I don't know if Toronto's going to trade. They're in a weird spot. They're in a weird division.
They have sell written all over it. Hey, they don't. I don't know what's going on with that team.
I don't either. Now, that's a guy who's got multiple years left under team control. Yep. So he would fit the bill with what Flem is describing. Someone that they could acquire for not just 1 year or a rental for this year, like a long term.
He signed through 2025 after signing a 3-year, $36 million deal. So he'll be an unrestricted free agent after next season.
Yeah. And you know, he's a guy that defense took a minute for him to become proficient. He's still not the best defender. Let me throw a random one at you. And I know you're really reluctant to move